Hello and welcome to ThePapare.com. You're on The Breakdown with me, Shanaka. We are reviewing the final weekend of the first round of matches in the Singer Schools League 2019. At the end of that first round, we have just one team that is unbeaten. It's separated the men from the boys, the wheat from the chaff. Let's look at the results. Let's look at the results from the final weekend of rugby. We had St. Peter's taking on Royal in a much anticipated game. St. Peter's running out winners there 12-8. We had Ispathana taking on St. Joseph's in another unbeaten clash in Division 2A, and St. Joseph's winning that one by a single point in a humding-over game. Wesley College also managed to stay up by the skin of their teeth, 26 points to 24 against the resurgent St. Thomas's. Trinity College whacking their highest points of the season so far, 50 points to 20 against Science College. Zyra losing out heartbreakingly to St. Anthony's, 27 points to 21, and Kingswood knocking the points against Malayadeva, but not enough for them to stay up, 62 points to 12. Let's look a bit closer at our three featured games. The first one, of course, the one that everyone had been building up to, St. Peter's versus Royal, the battle of the forward packs, and what a game it was. A really attritional, close-fought game. Not one that a lot of the superficial fans will remember for a long time. There wasn't a lot of running rugby. There weren't some wild passes. There weren't some sidestepping that we would remember for a long time, but there was a real upfront grudge battle between the forwards. And in the end, it was the St. Peter's forwards, the little bit more discipline that managed to make sure that they took their team over the line. Some outstanding defensive work by both teams, which is why it's such a low-scoring affair. 20 points in the whole game, 12 points to 8 in favour of St. Peter's. So nothing really to talk about in terms of the tries that were scored. Just some good awareness for that early score by St. Peter's. Sandesh Dimela and Tenukananayakar are really recognizing where the space was, and I really have to commend Amarasinghe also, who has been excellent for St. Peter's at halfback. He's been making a lot of good calls in terms of which direction to go to. Royal then turned to their kicking game again. Kalidu Nandila came into his own a little bit more in the second half. They probably should have gone to him a little earlier in the first half as well, and put St. Peter's under a little bit of trouble with some great kick chasing from their wingers as well. But unfortunately for Royal, it was too little too late at the end. But a very good disciplined performance from both teams, and I think the coaches will be happy from what was left out there on the park. But in the end, St. Peter's managing to wrest that unbeaten title from Royal College, and all the teams in that group, or at least the top two teams in that group, finishing with a loss each, showing exactly how competitive it has been in Division 1A. Then, of course, we move to the other much more entertaining game that we saw between St. Joseph's and Ispathana College. Both those teams like to run the ball, and that's exactly what they did. Superb performances again from Manilka Ruberu, who was very strong and solid in the centre. But of course, Manu Ratnayaka, he's the one that we aren't really talking too much about, but he's the guy with the real finishing skills. And in the end, St. Joseph's, through Santosh Algama, managing to peg Ispathana back in their own territory, taking their kicks when they needed it, and a heartbreaking kick coming off the crossbar once again from Ruberu, which may have changed the result of the game. So everything was in the balance in that game. But St. Joseph's coming back into that match despite trailing 17 points to 6 at halftime, and managed to really do a number on their unbeaten title contention so far. They came so close last time to both the titles, both the league as well as the knockout, and they left it on the park. But this time it looks like they've done what they need to do to make sure they drag themselves over that line. Then, of course, we have Wesley College, who dragged themselves all the way to Mount Lavinia for a game that they absolutely had to win to stay up. Lots of pressure on the boys, lots of pressure on the coaching staff as well, but they came through that pressure really well in alien conditions to them as well. Wesley haven't played here too many times at Mount Lavinia, and they went into a big lead, 20 points to 7 it was at halftime, and that was enough for them to see that game out, because they added only a couple of penalties in the second half. 26 points they ended up with, and St. Thomas stormed back into the game, not doing their reputation any good with these come from behind wins, of course, but it was a good forwards battle from them as they kept carrying the ball forward step by step by step by step. And in the end, though it wasn't enough, the time ran out on the clock, and 26 points to 24 was how it finished. But I think St. Thomas's will be thinking this was a game that they should really have closed out. A little bit complacent both against Malayadeva and against Wesley. I don't think they played with the same amount of urgency that they did in the first 35 minutes of that game, or in any game really they've played this season. But Wesley College will live to fight another day in the Cup Championship.
Live scores දැනගන්න ThePapare.com වෙත පිවිසෙන්න.
Here's a look at the points and numbers from the final weekend of the first round of competition in the Singer Schools League 2019, and those are courtesy of stats.thepapare.com. All the numbers you need on the game you love. We have in Division 1A St. Peter's and Royal, who both finished with 1 loss each and are equal on points. St. Peter's taking the number 1 position purely because they've scored a few more tries, and when I say few, I mean just 3 more tries than Royal College. So that will absolutely mean nothing in the final equation as we go into the tougher games of the second round. Then we have St. Thomas's with 3 wins in that group, and they can count themselves lucky that they managed to meet St. Peter's at the start of the season, perhaps, because if they meet St. Peter's now, maybe that result will not be the same thing that it was in the first weekend of the season. They've got 19 points. Wesley have done well to come back into contention, and they have 14 points, just pipping Kingswood College. We spoke about this last week, just pipping them to the post in that Cup Championship by 14 points to 13, and that would gravely upset Kingswood as well, because they beat Wesley in their original encounter in the first weekend of the season. So they go down by just 1 point. You have to feel really sorry for Kingswood that they won't be in the Cup Championship, because they're probably better than some of the teams coming through into the Cup Championship from the other group. Amalia, of course, go down. They haven't troubled the scorers in the point standings, but they did score a couple of tries against the A Division teams, and I think they'll be happy about that. Then in the other group, we have one unbeaten team, St. Joseph's, who managed to win all 5 of their games, and that close one last week, of course, against Ispathana. 28 points they have. They haven't got all their bonus points, but I think they'll be happy with the amount they have got. Ispathana College very close by, and don't forget, St. Joseph's could lose at any point in this upcoming Cup Championship, so we'll wait and see whether Ispathana will claw their way back into contention. 24 points, so 4 points behind. Ispathana desperately need their bonus points as well, and Trinity climbing up the table to a deserved 3rd place finish in what was definitely the week of the group. 17 points they have, and Science College getting through on behalf of the fact that St. Anthony's and Zahira really didn't flatter anyone this season. So Science College will go through into the Cup Championship, probably the luck of the draw for them, because I think Kingswood probably a much better side who are losing out and going down into the plate. Top point scorers and, of course, try scorers. Geesha Kulatunga continues with that 50-pointer that Trinity had over their opponents. He managed to score another try as well, and he has 6 for the season so far, showing that raw pace can still do it for you if you get the right amount of ball. Santu Shalgama has crossed 50 points this season, and he's been a rock for St. Joseph's, and he's been kicking over the penalties as well as doing a lot of territorial work for St. Joseph's, making life a lot easier for his forward pack. So 51 points for Santu Shalgama, leading the race at the moment. Just to remind you of the 2 teams that will be demoted into the Plate Championship. Unfortunately for them, Malayadeva and Kingswood go down from Division 1A, and it's St. Anthony's and Zahira who go down from Division 2A. Unfortunate for Kingswood, of course, probably the best side to be demoted from the competition so far. The second round starts on the 20th of April, so we'll come back to you on the breakdown with all those fixtures and all of that that we can look forward to as well. The Bradby is one of the big ones that people will be talking about from the second round as well. So until then, have a great hour of the season. We'll see you on the other side on the breakdown.